Hello and welcome back to the show. My name's Noah. You're on 96.5 InnerFM, and this is Music and More with myself, James, and today a guest.
You're not James.
Sorry?
You're not James.
Did I just call myself James?
Yeah, you did.
Wow, look at that. Top of the game. With myself, Noah, and then my co-host, James. And we've actually got a guest today. His name is Nomad. Nomad, why don't you say hi to us real quick?
Yo, what's up, people? How we doing?
I'm really excited for this. He's a local Melbourne artist. He's fantastic. Just absolute kind of, just lyrical master. And yeah, we've got a very exciting show today. So if you want to join in the conversation, please text into why have I suddenly back to number 0456 965 965, or you can tune into the live stream, which will be starting in a few minutes. But in the meantime, I want to start you off. Well, we've got to get through an ad real quick, and then I want to start you off with some of Nomad's music. If you're not familiar, you should be familiar, but you'll learn today. Today will be the day. So please stay tuned, stick around. We've got a really great show. First interview of the year. Can't wait. That was We On by Nomad from his most recent EP, Birthday Boy Prelude to the Nomadic being his debut album. So please stay tuned for that. When I say stay tuned, as in stick around till the 26th, because it's going to be a great album. I think the EP is just trying to already drop some of the best songs in the year in that EP alone. And so if that's what we're starting with, then the album is going to be very good, I have no doubt. Now, just to quickly back announce, the songs you heard at the start of the show was Look What You've Done by Emily Sand. The one after that was Worth It by Amber Mark. And of course, I want to thank Kevin for the show as well. Always a great show. He's always on before us. Please stick around early if you want to catch him. He's always doing great stuff. Now, welcome to the show again. I've been saying that a lot, but the reason why I've been saying it is because I'm excited. This show has been going for 65 weeks, you're saying.
65 weeks.
65 weeks. This is my 18th show.
Yeah.
And we finally have our first live guest, Nomad. Now, we've been wanting to have live guests from the very beginning, but good old Uncle COVID made sure to block that. But we finally have it. We finally got him here. Nomad, how are you doing today?
Yeah, man, I'm good. It's crazy to be out in the world, man. Right. And I'm honored to be the first guest, since the show went into lockdown. And yeah, congrats on the 18th show too.
Thanks,
awesome,
man. Thanks, man. I mean, yeah, it's good day to be here. Now, I want to start off, man. Why don't you tell the people about yourself? Like, how long have you been making music? What's your background? And also let us know a bit about the song we just played, We On, from your most recent EP. So,
yeah,
I don't know, in whichever order you want to answer that.
Yeah, cool, man. Obviously my name's Nomad. My name's Damon Nomad, for those who know me by my stage name.
I feel like this might be a really obvious question, but why Nomad? Have you moved around a lot?
Well, Nomad, it's always been my name backwards. So if you flip Damon, it's Nomad. I like it when I like getting people's reactions.
Palindrome, what do you call that? Is that a palindrome? I don't know.
I don't know. There's definitely...
I'm saying that wrong, I'm sure, but there's a name for that. Yeah.
But I've always kind of known that was my name backwards, but in high school, I was really infatuated with the studies of indigenous culture. Indigenous around the world, but of course mainly Australia. And just learning how they were nomads of this land, and how being sustainable around Australia kind of, that was their practice spiritually and practically as well, and the effects that it had there. And just sort of taking that mentality into the music game, it just seemed like a no-brainer to kind of I want to never be stagnant. I want to keep moving in terms of my sound and things like that. So that was kind of the reason behind that.
No, nice. And in terms of you kind of getting into music, what was the kind of journey there?
Yeah, well, music's always been a big thing in just my family in general. My parents were really big on music. We had all kinds of music happening throughout the house. But in 2015, I met someone who was actually trying to take rap seriously. In Young Breezy, I think he's going by Breezy 96 Baby now. But I met him in school, and he was my age, and I just admired what he was doing. And I asked him bro, can I get a feature? Can I be a feature on one of your songs? And he was send me a video of you rapping over this beat, and I'll have a look at it. I sent it to him, and he was like, man, I think you could actually do something with this.
I'll see.
So since then, it's just kind of like been, all right, I'm going to take it seriously and try and make something of this.
Yeah, nice. And we'll go into the depths of this in relates, but obviously you're a family man as well.
Yeah.
Overall, what's it been like balancing, how they kind of pushed into your music a little bit?
Yeah, man, it's definitely been something to try and figure out. I'm still trying to figure out how to balance being a dad and being a partner and trying to be a musician too. But I think it's essentially like I kind of lucked out and have been blessed and fortunate enough to have a partner that's really understanding of music.
Yep.
She's just really supportive, really selfless. Like, she's sacrificed a lot for me to be where I am right now. Like, even to be here tonight, she's at home with the 3 kids.
Yeah.
So I owe a lot to that woman. Shout out T. Yeah, love that woman, man. And same with just my family in general. Like, my parents, my siblings, like all of them, just like really, really supportive of what I'm doing. And
I think you really need that. I mean, it's one of the things I was actually thinking, kind of on my way in here today, is like, if you're a musician, it's kind of one of those things, particularly at the beginning when you're young and you're just starting out. It's an expensive thing to get into.
Yeah.
And when you have
100%.
a family and you've got to make the decisions, do we get as much shopping this week, or do I buy a new microphone?
Yeah, man.
It kind of feels, in a way, like it would be selfish to do anything but to get the food.
Yeah.
But at the same time, to kind of be successful, it is almost like you have to kind of invest in yourself, because the idea is, if you kind of do become successful, you're the kind of product. And like with a business, you kind of have to invest in yourself. But at the same time, that's a really, really hard thing for the family to accept. That's a really hard
100%.
thing for you to kind of, to make a decision from.
And just mentally as well, because like obviously being in music, like it's easy to get down on yourself, but like just trying to be aware of the fact that I've got that support system around me, because I know that like there's a lot of musicians out there who would kill to have like their family support them the way that mine supports me. So
definitely a blessing.
Just trying to be grateful for it. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess the last question for the moment is I want to talk about a little bit about the movement.
Cool.
Like, so how was the because obviously you would have started music in general and the movement started later. What's the journey there, and what's movement's mission?
Yeah, man. Well, when I was starting out, I like being in Australia. There's like no real blueprint of how to like navigate the music industry. So I always thought it was like, I'm going to put out a mixtape. It's going to be dope. Record labels are going to send me offers and like try and sign me and things like that, right? When I put out my trash, when I put out the trash mixtape first, I was sitting around, like, why is this not hitting? And and then just sort of like doing more research behind the music industry and how they like what my original idea was basically a facade. From watching movies and things like that. And just learning more about how like what an independent artist was. I thought indie music was like a genre, but it turns out it's actually like a person like
like a way of making your music and putting it out.
And just being pretty much self-sustainable. Which sort of fed into my already like the mantra of being a nomad. Like okay, so there's sustainability and then trying to be self-sustainable and things like that. So just doing more research with it, with Iconic Beats or Peter. And we just figured like, why don't we make something for our own? And we'll call it the movement, because you can't be a nomad without movement. And
of course. That's clever.
Just kind of fed into each other, and we've just been building together ever since. And we're still not in a spot where we feel confident like we know exactly what we're doing as a label or like as a recording company, but like from where we started, we definitely feel like we're on the right track. From watching it, it definitely doesn't look like you don't know what you're doing. Like, perception.
Just as the organization, the merch drops, you think there's like a whole team behind it, But
awesome.
The fact that it's just like the two of you is very impressive to me as well. And I just think, it's definitely coming off well. It's coming off well for sure. If you wanna follow the movement, what would the Instagram be for those who are listening?
Yep. So we have the Movement RC, which is our main Instagram handle, but we also have the Movement Apparel with an underscore at the end, because someone's the Movement Apparel already, and they don't even make clothes. I've already looked into it, guys. Don't go on that search. But just remember that underscore. That's our merch, and that's our social media right now. Instagram.
Yeah, fair. And before we go into our ads real quick, where can people reach you as well, just for those who are listening for the first time?
Yeah, cool. So on Instagram, it's Nomad_TMRC. It's typically Nomad_TMRC for everything, including Facebook, YouTube. Look me up on there. Twitter. I'm on Twitter sometimes. Twitter's usually where I talk my stuff. Yeah, pretty much all social media platforms.
Yeah, fair enough. Nice. Well, I hope you guys have been enjoying so far. We'll be right back. Please don't go anywhere. We've got more music coming, more conversation. It's going to be good. And like I said, you don't want to miss it. So please stick around. That was Life and Times with Nomad featuring Antoine Kobe White and produced by Spell. That's my favorite track out of the EP so far. And like I said, this is a 3-track EP for a full album. So there's a lot to look forward to. Could you tell us a little bit about that track and also the first track we played, We On, both produced by Spell? Can you tell us a little bit about the backgrounds of those tracks?
Yeah, man. Both produced by Spell. He's like probably one of the best beat makers that I know personally. They both kind of follow a similar idea where basically me and my friends, like, we just wanted to talk about our experiences as brown boys in modern Australia, in Melbourne, and so just shout out to our Pacifica youth, Polynesian youth, and shout out to the boys who jumped on it. So on the first track, it was As One, and I personally, like, I think that's his verse is probably one of the verses of the year. I just love how he incorporated his Samoan language into.
Yeah, no, that was sick. That was sick. Didn't know what he was saying, but it was mad.
I always commend him on that verse because, like, I feel like he blessed me with that one. And shout out to Antoine and Kobe White for jumping on Life and Times too. Antoine's someone that I've looked up to since I heard his music while I was still in my last few years of high school. And Kobe White as well, I've heard him on YouTube for a minute now and always wanted to get his vocals on the track, and I wasn't expecting it to happen with this one, but then I got the file and I was like, awesome.
Yeah, so, nice.
We're happy about that.
Definitely came together well.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to go into a little bit about, in terms of making music, just the technical aspect of it.
Yeah.
What's the process been like getting, kind of as a newer artist, again, balancing everything, having your own company? You mentioned, kind of distribution earlier, I think off air, what's been the toughest process you found so far about kind of getting music out to the world?
I don't know if it was like at the time, like at the start of my career, it was definitely hard. I had no like reference point of where to start.
Yeah.
But learning how to distribute your own music and realizing just how easy it actually is, that was a game changer for sure.
Yeah.
It really is as simple as like, how do I get my music on Spotify and Apple Music? Typing that into the Google engine and like the results are all there. There's so many obvious like tips and tricks that you can Google and find the answer for, but you just don't know what keywords to type into that search engine. That was definitely one of the first keys to getting to where I'm at now. What else? Yeah, just getting.
Can I just take you back though too?
Sure.
Like, I mean, before you get to that stage, how were you finding actually getting your tracks to a really kind of because your tracks sound really polished, they sound really good. Now, at the beginning, was that all you? Did you have to kind of get collaborations with other people? Like, how was the learning curve for that?
There was a massive learning curve because there's so much now that goes into these tracks that you're hearing now that I had no idea about when I was coming out of high school. Like mixing and mastering, I didn't even know that those were terms. So a lot of my first things, like I was ripping beats off YouTube, I was rapping into the camera, like no microphone like this, at least, and just into my phone mic, into a webcam mic on my laptop.
Nice.
And that was my start. And I just had this idea that like I was gonna get signed to a label and they were gonna book me studios and like I was gonna go into the professional studios from the jump. And then that was not true at all. and yeah, like just learning that you need an engineer, or you either need an engineer to be an engineer for you, or you need to learn how to become an engineer.
Yeah.
And I started getting more into like studio setups, Googling that, learning about what equipment I might need to save for, what I might need to buy. I'm fortunate now that I have like some of that equipment. I've got a mic, I've got
audio interface.
Audio interface, like something similar to that, but like the home version. I've got my own setup. That was something that it took me like 5-6 years to get to. Just to have that knowledge and learn about it.
Did you naturally kind of pick things that when you get your first audio interface? Like, how are you technically minded? Was that just something when you took it out of the box? You're like, okay, where do I start? Or were you quite able to just jump into that kind of stuff?
And that's another thing too. Like the age that we're in, like we're fortunate enough to have these tutorials, and it makes me think about like 30 years ago when we didn't have YouTube. Like, how were people like understanding this stuff? Like, what schools were they going to learn about how to do these things? But yeah, it was really just YouTube. Like, I would learn what equipment I need, and then learn from YouTube how to use that equipment. And I've still got a basic idea of how to use that stuff now. There's definitely a lot more that I could learn, but yeah, YouTube, man, has been a and then just like being fortunate enough to like obviously where I started from, it kind of did help me to get into rooms with certain people. Like I met Iconic Beats or Pete when I was trying to do an audio production course at Collards. I didn't finish it, but he did. And he's really just like, he's brought me along with him on his journey while he's trying to learn this stuff himself. And I've just picked up so much game from him, like just by being in the same room as him. Iconic
Beats, for those who don't know, he's a local producer, works closely, we mentioned earlier, and works closely with Nomad and several other artists, and he's really fantastic at what he does. If his name's on the track, then it's going to be a good track.
That's the dude.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually want to talk a little bit before we go to break about we talked about the production aspect, but I want to talk about the performance aspects, because I haven't had the privilege of seeing you live yet, but I've seen videos and like you really know what you're doing. The confidence, the charisma is there. You really know how to hold the crowd. Is that something? Obviously, it takes training, but is that something that came naturally to you? Did you have stage fright, or did you kind of get up there and it was like an immediate expression, or was it something else entirely?
I had a pretty good journey to getting to where I'm at now, performance-wise, where like I did kind of have some experience in high school. Like I wasn't afraid to like be part of any of the end of year productions or anything like that, and kind of like be actively in it. But when I came out of high school, my first like performance on the Nomad was a talent show sort of thing, like a battle of the bands, but it was mostly hip hop artists in the West. It was run by the Push Inc. and some of the local councils. And I just went there with some of my YouTube tracks, got into it, and I was fortunate enough to win the first round.
Nice.
And that was really like nerve-wracking because I'd never like performed live. I learned a lot about me physically, like what I was able to endure, like how to do a 20-minute set and maintain your vocals. So it was like 3 rounds, and every round I learned something new. Second round, I kind of learned how to like just be a bit more engaging, jump around, and like make sure that I'm connecting with the 3 spots, like the center, the left, and the right of the audience. And then by the last one, I felt like I was like confident enough to focus more on telling the story as I'm just kind of weave it in between songs. That was kind of my journey into it. And since then, I've just kind of like just trying to maintain that that idea of like I'm learning something every time.
Well, then let me ask another question, kind of adding on to that. Because obviously you started and it was kind of like the passion of just music that kind of got into it. Is performing a large part of just the kind of expression of your love for this craft, or is it something that obviously you'd enjoy, but it's something that it's kind of an addition to what you love versus a part of it?
I'd definitely say it's a big part of my passion for this, because like I feel like like putting music out on platforms and things like that for people to listen to, it's definitely one way to connect, but I definitely don't think it beats being on stage and spitting the words directly to people and like having it resonate, and you can see the look in their eyes, and it's like, you know, all right, they're hearing what I'm saying, like this is something that has been composed well enough for people to actually register and make their own interpretations of what's coming out of my mouth.
I also don't think it's where the money is. Like it seems now that most artists are really making most of their money from live gigs and merch. The streaming is great for kind of getting your work out there, but it's not really earning people much money. So
and that's kind of been a big thing for me too, is like just trying to think of like actually be aware of like the business side of music, where like there is these different streams of revenue for you to access, but you just got to be able to access it and manage it correctly. Where like, I definitely agree that like there's not much of the revenue coming in from royalties from streams and things like that, and that there's more to be made when you're booking shows and able to sell merch. But at the same time, it is kind of harder to get into the merch stream and like start booking shows, because like who do you talk to? Things like that. But
I'm definitely with Noah in the sense that just looking at kind of your different profiles online and some of the interviews and bios that you had, it does actually really look like you've got the business end down pat. Like that looks
cool, man.
And I was really surprised when you just said it's just the two of you doing it. It does look like you've got like a big agency behind you, kind of like pushing stuff, which is great, you know.
Yeah, and that's what we aspire to be. So we try and look like that's what we are right now.
No, sick. Well, we'll be back very shortly, and we'll kind of go more into that and just the kind of mechanics of the actual, just the living of the music and chasing your passion versus actually kind of balancing it with life, particularly financially. But please stick around. We've got some more stuff coming right to you. So we're not going anywhere. This is 96.5 InnerFM, and this is Music and More. That was Jokes on You by Nomad featuring Hids and produced by 94. Can you tell us a bit about the track? You told me a little interesting fact about Hids and 94, something that I did not see coming at all.
So Hids, real great friend of mine. 94, also a real great friend of mine. They're both actually the same friend of mine. Hids 94 is the same dude. That's actually his Instagram handle, Hids 94, if you want to go follow him. I actually met him through so one of my best friends, and actually two of my best friends who are cousins. So there's Joseph and Sire. Sire's, you guys have played him on the show before. R&B singer from the West. Those guys were in a dance crew with Hids. I'm telling you, Hids is like one of the most talented dudes I've ever met, and so is Sire as well. And through that connection, like we just started jamming music together, and this song came about like I want to say middle of last year. Just through working on the album. Of course, I have that line in there while I'm working on this album, stressing over the outcome. It just helped me like unpack that a little bit more.
And speaking of that, and this is something we're kind of looking forward to kind of jumping into. I mean, obviously that song is kind of highlighting, kind of just like the struggles of kind of balancing and kind of, just your identity and your place as kind of an artist coming up with, like family and everything, all that kind of stuff. And I was saying off air, like, you're someone who in your music and from the videos I've seen of you performing, you're very confident in your ability. You've even got songs, of course, in a Takeoff, for example, which we played a few times earlier this year. That's like, you're really kind of, flexing. There's a real confidence there.
Thank you for that too.
Oh, no worries, man. Great track. Lyrically, like I think one of the hardest tracks out of Melbourne this year.
Dope.
But would you say, in this world of like, there's just comparison is just so much stronger than it ever was, and it's so hard to avoid. In terms of things when it comes to just seeing yourself, just again, balancing everything you're doing, your confidence in music, but as a person, how do you balance that? Do you struggle with imposter syndrome at all? Kind of what does that kind of look like? Because again, you kind of touched on it briefly in Jokes on You.
And it's interesting you put it that way, because I never actually thought about imposter syndrome, but just hearing that, I definitely feel like I struggle with that all the time. Like it's weird for me because like I'm in this weird position where I feel like hip hop, the mainstream hip hop looks a certain way and sounds a certain way, and I don't feel like I fit that mold at all.
Right.
And yeah, just being able to navigate it at this point in time and stay authentic. Like let's address the elephant in the room. Like drill music is really at the center of Oz hip hop right now.
Yeah.
And being someone who's Polynesian and having like the Polynesian community embrace that style of music,
like people kind of want you to be that or expecting to be that. Right?
Yeah. There's definitely that hidden expectation for me, but I feel like if I was to switch up right now, that's not authentic, and it's like you know. It does make me doubt who am I supposed to be and how am I meant to navigate things right now.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
No, fair. You know, and it's interesting because I mean you've been making music since. Well, you know, at least you know you've been making music since before that kind of rise happened.
Yeah.
And so. Which would arguably say probably about 2019, I'd say, roughly, maybe 2020, 2019, 2020. And you're saying, you know, you don't fit that mold. Was there a temptation to jump into that? Because, I mean, obviously with your ability, you could do that. But was there like a potential to kind of to go that route? Maybe not so much in terms of the subject matter, but in terms of the kind of just the sonic stylings of it.
100%, man. And like even still to this day, there's definitely like there's an artist in Sydney who I really admired from the start of her career, A Girl.
Yeah.
And she just put out something that's drill, and it's not necessarily like the subject matter that we're accustomed to, where it's like shanks and shivs and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But she's done something with that style and made it her own. So, and it definitely like it hit me, it shook me, and I was like, man, she did it like this, and like maybe that is the avenue. Like there's been that question and that doubt in my mind since day one.
Yeah.
And like I'm not gonna lie, there's some tracks that like we've gone into that style with me and Pete, and
nice.
The world's never gonna hear that stuff. I promise.
Oh dang, what a tease.
Yeah, just like trying new things. Like it's a curiosity for me for sure, but I know that like at the heart of it, like I've got my sound now, and you know, like as much as you know, I still want to diversify and be different and tap into different genres and things like that. But changing up the core of it is not something that I'm interested in doing.
Yeah.
What is your starting point when you actually start to write, and then like how does that kind of morph into the finished product? I mean, what you're talking about, kind of maybe potentially going down a different musical style, a different road with that. When you have your lyrics, do you kind of have an inkling from the very beginning as to what kind of beats you're going to be putting behind that, or is that just pretty much an ever-evolving kind of process?
That's easy, man. My starting point was BJ Cole. It was BJ Cole as well as B New York. Now, for those who are listening, I know that J. Cole's not from New York. I know he's from North Carolina, but his sound is very much...
Germany, I think, wasn't he?
Rapidly.
Something like that.
Like Force, basically.
And I know that he's not from New York, but I know that he's like embraced that sound, and that's the sound that I grew up with, like Jay-Z and Nas, Kanye to an extent, like the Chicago sound, and that was my starting point, was like sound like those guys, and from there, like I understood that some of my early stuff was copycatish and imposter syndrome again, like that's not really me, but being able to find my sound through trying to, like, I had to emulate them to find my own sound. And I feel like I'm definitely confident in how I'm sounding now.
It's not an easy thing to kind of come to that, especially when, you know, you've been doing it for a while, but you're still relatively early in your career, and it's like,
100%,
you know, with those kind of influences kind of asking you, it's like almost like it's a kind of, you know, just kind of fame and money dangling in your face, essentially, hey, be this. I just wanted to ask, actually, I mean, obviously, being Polynesian, what's your background specifically?
So I'm half Samoan on my mum's side and half Māori on my dad's side.
Nice. And so I guess, like, seeing, how do you feel seeing, obviously, kind of the Polynesian scene essentially just take the crown of Melbourne hip-hop? I mean, it's obviously Melbourne hip-hop's been a thing for a while, but it's, you know, guys like 1-4, guys like HP Boys have been really kind of taking it, from what I've seen, besides maybe like a Kid Laroi or something like that, which is not Polynesian, or like they've been really kind of really bringing it to the forefront internationally. Of course, and it's mostly drill, particularly with 1/4. Now, I'd imagine, and correct, and, you know, obviously, this give me your thing on this, but I'd imagine that would be quite happy to see. But at the same time, the subject matter and the focus is quite specific. Obviously, you know, drill type topics, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, as someone who is kind of more introspective in their music, how does that feel? Is that like, how do you feel about that? What's your kind of take on that?
It's exactly that, bro. Like, I feel it's a bittersweet feeling. Like, I'm like, I've always felt like when it comes to my Polynesian community, because I've grown up in Melbourne my entire life, I've only been to Samoa a couple times in my life.
Yep.
Never been back to New Zealand, so I'm quite out of touch with my culture, my cultural roots, and it's something that I'm trying to work on now as an adult.
I feel that.
But throughout my childhood, I definitely felt like I was on the outside looking in on not just like the white kids, but also like my own people. There's a term that gets thrown around for people like myself called plastics. Like, we're plastic Polynesians, plastic Samoans, plastic Maldives. So I grew up with that label on myself.
That would be really frustrating.
Yeah,
I've definitely, just on a side note, I mean, being you know, in my kind of travels as well, being, you know, well, born and raised in England, but my dad's from Ghana. You know, you get the phrase Oreo, which I'm sure you've heard before. And then for Asians, I've heard there's the phrase banana as well. Like, I feel there's those... I have a personal connection to those kind of things. I really hate those things, so I imagine that would have been quite frustrating.
Oh, 100%, man. Yeah, because like on one side you're getting told that you're not Polynesian enough, but then on the other side you're getting roped in as a coconut with all the other Polynesians, and it's like, which one is it? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, and then like I've always kind of carried that chip on my shoulder and felt like I was on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
And then just to see this drill wave take off and being so proud of like the brothers that are like pushing this wave, and like just to see it happening, but it just felt like I'm even more on the outside looking in now, because I don't sound like these dudes at all.
Yeah.
What's the feedback though when you go to live gigs and you meet these people? What's their feedback on what you're doing? Because obviously they can't do what you're doing because they're not from where you are. So like, how are you getting positive feedback when you kind of, you know, do gigs and meet these people?
Yeah, it is interesting. Like, because again, like, it might even just be my own mind telling me that that's the way that these things are. Because generally, like in my interactions with people who are making drill, like I'm very close friends with the VB brothers, or the Double S Dons from St. Albans. Shout out to them. And you know, I know that they really mess with my music, and I really mess with their music too. And again, I just want to make this clear. Like, I am not like a hater of drill music. I love drill music, but like, it's like grime music. If I was to turn around and start making like songs with a UK accent, that's not me. Like, it's not that I don't like it. But yeah, my interactions with people from the drill scene, like, you know, they all like, it's always positive. And like, I'm really cool with them. I feel like it's like a lot less of a gap between us, or a wall between us where we can't communicate. Like, yeah, it's real. It's all love. Like,
nice. Well, we've just hit 7. It's 7:02. We're going to be right back. Just going to run through a few ads, and then we've got more music and chats coming up. If you have any questions for Nomad or any song requests, we'll be playing a few less songs, obviously, because we're focusing in on gold at the moment. However, if you want to text in at all, any requests or any questions at all, text into 0456 965 965. And just a reminder, if you don't know, you're listening to Music and More on InnerFM with Noah and James. So please stick around.
Follow a trend, stuck in a time where you could be famous because you were a friend of a friend of a friend.
Man, that song is so crazy.
Man.
Noah played that, was it last week or the week before? It's the first time I'd ever heard it as we played it on air.
Blew
me away.
I played it when it first dropped. Yeah, it was, gosh. Yeah, that song. Yeah.
Not trying to be all gushy. It's damn good. It's really great. I love that.
Thank you for that, man.
You ate that track, man.
Appreciate that.
Exactly why I'm waiting to see you live, man. I'm keen to see that live. Are you much of a freestyler at all? Not that you see it much on tracks, but is that something you were into?
I'm definitely into freestyling, but
nice.
For me, it's definitely like a muscle that needs to be like worked out and like brought to a point. And if I don't work it out, it's like it's gonna be trash. Like,
I feel that, man.
Yeah, man.
I feel that. I dabbled a bit in high school, and I can from experience that's been the case too. Yeah,
like, I feel like I've had some pretty on like freestyle moments, but like it's been from like days in succession, like just working on it.
Yeah,
and, like, But yeah,
it's a lot of fun. We can get it going though. Yeah. Now, I wanted to talk about, we've got a few things lined up this hour. Now, this hour, just a teaser, I'm not going to play it yet, cool. But you guys listening, you're going to get to hear a track from the album that hasn't dropped yet. So this is exclusive. So this is, if you weren't convinced as to why you'd listen to this show, here's your reason. We're getting exclusive with artists. This is some serious stuff right here.
Yeah, man.
But before we get into that, I just wanted to talk about just the, because obviously this has been an incredibly strenuous 2 years for everyone,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's been one of the toughest. Besides, this show's been one of the highlights. But I mean, personally, it's been tough. But I mean, I'm just, I don't have any real responsibilities besides work and uni. But I mean, you got music, you've got your company, then you've got your family, then you've actually, you've got your other job as well. Like, I want to talk about the effects of lockdown, just kind of on your creative process, on you. How was that? I mean, and I know you touched on it in the Birthday Boy EP, and you're going to go into it further in your album. But I mean, just start it from where you want to start it.
Yeah, man. We've all definitely had to adapt a lot, like, to the new normal that we've like been subjected to because of COVID. But like prior to like even knowing about what COVID was, like I'd started working on this album that we're talking about, the Nomadic, and I already had one child. I had my second child on the way, Zion, and my first child's name is Naya, and so going into what we eventually found out about, like I felt like things were sweet. I was in a good spot. Gigs were coming in constantly. Different collaborations were starting to happen, and the album was looking really good. And then we got the first like news headlines. Didn't think much of it because Ebola, swine flu. Like,
it's one of those.
Come and go.
Yeah,
I was like, we're gonna be sweet. We're gonna come out of this all good. And then it just got to that point where, all right, we're locking down Melbourne, and it's like, wait, what the heck? Like, what just happened? And it happened so quick, right? Like, did you guys feel like it happened? Like,
yeah, it was like literally like one day things were normal, next thing paranoia. Yeah,
man. And like I remember that first time walking through the shopping center with the mask on and like feeling that hysteria of like, don't get too close to me, like that sort of thing. My work was definitely not the same at the time. I was like pretty much fully into youth work, like working with youth through music-based programs. We weren't allowed to gather in those community centers anymore, so we had to adapt to like an online setting. We were using Discord, which is like usually used for gaming and things like that. We were using that to set up classrooms to have our like online workshops and things like that, which was cool, but it was definitely fatiguing on us all mentally, like not just us, but the youth too. So that kind of took its toll as the year went on. Slowly, things were starting to get pushed back for the album, and it got to the point by the end of the year where I was like, this album's never coming out.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, man, just starting to get real hopeless about it because if you notice in Jokes on You, like that's a very moment-based song. Like it's meant to come out before the album. And if that never came out on my birthday, then it's not coming out after the album at all. Because it wouldn't make sense. And that was sort of the feeling with some of the songs on the album. It was like, can we even put this out during this time, like where we've just gone through a pandemic? Like, would some of this stuff still make sense? But I'm happy with like what we ended up with at this point because we just kind of knuckled down and decided to finish it off. In terms of like family and stuff like that, like being able to spend more time with the kids and be a dad and be a partner more than usual, like that stuff was good. It was even too good in a sense. Like there was a lot of moments during lockdown where it was like, does someone want to have our kids for the weekend? Like like not gonna lie about it, like people need help, and my partner's a very stubborn person too, where she like she is almost too proud to like ask for help and say that she needs a break from the kids and things like that because she loves them.
Yeah,
I understand that, but I'm kind of the devil's advocate where I'm saying, come on, you need a break. I need a break. Can your mum have them? Like, come on, man.
It's like yin and yang, though. The way relationships work, isn't it?
Exactly.
You need to have a little bit. You need similarities, but you also need you know, two slightly different kind of takes on a situation, I think. Always. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I just wanted to add just a little mini story, actually, just a little touch on when you were talking about the start of the year. Because I remember the first time I met you, listeners, for those who don't know, I've mentioned it in passing before, but the first time I met Nomad was at the start of 2020, and it was for the recording of this album called All Corners, which you can listen to on streaming. Yeah, that's the first time I met you. Fantastic album, and basically this collective at the time called New Wave Infinity, featured a bunch of guys. They got a house for a week, got a bunch of Melbourne creative, artists together, and recorded a whole album. Mm-hmm. I even have a verse from that. So it's a little mini plug.
Crazy.
But I was just going to say, there's also a text that's come in for you.
Oh yes. You got a text from your mum as well.
Very special, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's saying she's very proud of you. So yeah, shout out to her.
Shout out Mumsy. Shout out Mum.
But yeah, and so I remember particularly that week being there, really setting the scene for what the year was about to be. On a smaller level, I had kind of plans musically as well. And so, I can only imagine kind of how deflating that would have been at the start. Because it was such an explosive start, being in that kind of creative thing. Oh man, things about to pop off. And then COVID came.
Isn't that crazy, man?
Yeah.
That session was just insane.
Oh my gosh, it was so good.
We had no idea.
Yeah, man.
We were all so happy, man. That was crazy.
We're literally different people at the start of that, which was insane. It was insane. Yeah, man. Now, we're going to have to run into some more ads as well, but please stick around. We're going to be back very shortly. Again, if you want to text in questions or if you want to join in the conversation, it's at 0456 965 965. That is 0456 965 965. We're also streaming on Instagram Live at the moment, although the stream has stopped, but we'll start that up again. But in the meantime, please stay tuned. We're going to talk more music, more life with us, Noah and James and Nomad. See you shortly.
96.5 InnerFM.
Welcome back to the show. I hope you've been enjoying so far. We've been here with Nomad, and we just played through a few tracks. If you're wondering what those tracks were, they were from the album that I mentioned, All Corners, which is just on streaming now. It dropped last year. Really fantastic album that involves pretty much a bunch of Melbourne artists. The most recent track you heard was I'm With the Gang by New Wave Infinity. The song you heard before that was from a really talented artist, Ryko, who is just, I think he's amazing. I know him personally as well. Both of us know him personally, actually, Nomad and I, and he's really great. And the song here before that was also from All Corners, called Run From The Pain, and that had Nomad on it as well. And yeah, man, what a great week that was, recording that. Yeah, really good. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I want to talk about your album, The Nomadic, coming out, your debut album.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. First of all, how are you feeling after it? Because, obviously, I imagine you're excited, but it's obviously been quite a strenuous process at the same time. Can you run me... we talked a little bit about how lockdown affected you, but in terms of this actual album specifically, what's it been like creating that just the whole time through? And what are your plans for kind of coming out of it? And perhaps more importantly, what are you going to be exploring in this album?
Oh, cool. Man, it's been a really weird and crazy journey. I kind of reference it to you hear about some of these movie productions that happens, and they are constantly pushing back production dates because they need to do reshoots or things like that, or change the budget and all those kinds of dramas, and then it eventually comes out and it's either one of the greatest movies you've seen or one of the worst movies you've ever seen. Shout out Justice League. That's kind of what happened with this. I'd always, since I'd started dreaming about what the Nomad career was going to be, had this idea that I want my first album to be called The Nomadic. The reason being, obviously, I'm Nomad, but Nas was definitely one of my biggest influences growing up for his sound and his storytelling. And I imagined that if I was going to do a big body of work like that I wanted it to be my sharpest storytelling and my sharpest pen, and just be able to tell something personal. So yeah, shout out to Nas for that. And that's always been a big dream of mine. And we really started working on it probably 2 or 3 years ago. And it was a weird growing process because we started making tracks on tracks, and each one was getting like it was a massive leap in terms of quality.
Yeah.
And we were sort of like, okay, we've set a new standard with this one. This other one can't come out.
Yeah, yeah.
And slowly, some tracks like started getting cut, and but we kept chipping away at it anyway. And like we finally got to a point where I think we had about 3 or 4 songs that we felt were cohesive and worked well together, and were also like the best quality that we could put out. And when I say we, I'm talking about me and Iconic, of course.
Yeah. Is he producing most of this album?
Yeah, he's produced, I want to say, about 70% of the album.
Yeah.
And he mixed and mastered basically everything.
Yeah.
Also, I just wanted to shout out Ayo Trey. Trey is also a master of one of the songs. I was fortunate enough that he could help us in the clutch. Like,
nice.
We had the deadline coming up and we needed someone to do this one song in particular, and I feel like he put his touch on it perfectly. So shout out to him. Hids also helped out with some of the tracks for the mixing and mastering as well as production.
Yeah.
Hids probably has 20% of the album.
Yeah.
And then in terms of other producers, we got Max Van Soest.
He's
from
dope.
the All Corners project.
Yeah.
The one is we got Takeoff on the album. I'll just put that out there since it's already out. As well as Astro, he's returned for a couple more tracks. As well as For You.
Yep.
That we put out a couple years ago.
Yep. And
it's crazy to even say all those names, man, because they're all so talented beat makers, producers. Spell, of course.
Yeah.
Spell's back on the album too.
The king.
Sort of like just picking up where we left off with the EP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
What else?
And you know, again, you kind of said you wanted to kind of get more personal in here, and I think one thing, because I remember when I saw your name and everything, and I heard your music. Obviously, Nomad is a wonder, and you kind of really touched on the meaning as well. But then I feel like it's kind of got an added meaning with the fact that you were saying how obviously you're Polynesian, just full-blooded Polynesian. But then you know other people said, oh, you're plastic Polynesian, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
In terms of the themes, do you kind of explore that kind of idea of being like kind of not feeling, because obviously Melbourne, you've been in Melbourne your whole life, but not feeling rooted, basically. Yeah. Is that something you explore? And if not, what will you be exploring? What are some of the things we can expect to kind of hear from this?
Oh, definitely. We definitely explored identity is a big thing in this album.
Yeah.
And it was very, like, I'm unpacking a lot of stuff on this album personally. And just on that note, I was very fortunate enough to collab with a very important mentor in my life, and someone who I've always admired in the Polynesian community, and that being Grace Funny Lau.
Nice.
And she's basically my auntie.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate enough to bring her into the studio and have a collab session with myself and Pete, and we really tapped into something. She has this really powerful voice.
Yeah.
She's very poetic.
Yeah.
And there's some spoken word on here that I feel really ties the album together and helps weave in between the songs and make it a cohesive piece.
Yeah.
And I'm just really excited to hear what people think about what she's done with the project, because she's really helped to put the ribbon on it that we really needed. And just having that, because obviously she's someone who's a mentor to me in the Polynesian space, and like we talked about, like growing up being a plastic all my life, to now having the confidence and the affirmations coming from the older generation.
Yeah.
My community, it's like, Yeah.
That's amazing, man. I mean, would you, I guess, kind of with that kind of, you know, work with Grace and stuff like that, and just the whole album thing, would you say that it's this album has been a therapeutic process or a healing process, or would you say it's also kind of been not so much damaging, but I mean, you know, were you kind of pulling kind of stuff out, like kind of really having to address hard things that perhaps you didn't want to explore again, or a combination of the two?
That's a great question, because I've definitely experienced both of those feelings with music. Overall, this project has definitely been therapeutic and healing. And I don't feel like there's any songs on this project that I feel like I was taking something out of me so I never have to address it again. I've done that before in the past. There's a track called Over You that felt that way, where I was addressing a past relationship. But with this one, it definitely felt like I'm getting this out of me so I can understand it a lot better, and hopefully other people out there who are listening can understand it a bit better too if they're going through it. And I definitely, this project is special. For that reason exactly.
Oh, wicked. No, I'm glad. No, that's wicked, man. And I guess I also want to ask, and we can go into this further later on, but in terms of the album's release as well, like, I mean, what does the rollout look like in terms of, like, you know, obviously, you know, shows and stuff are kind of still kind of coming back. What are you kind of wanting the shows to look like? I mean, because this sounds like quite an introspective album. Are you kind of looking for intimate shows? Are you kind of looking to kind of get kind of festivals, combination of the two? What does the kind of, when you put it out, what does that putting it out look like, you know?
Well, I feel like the album is structured in a way where there's kind of something for everyone and something for every vibe. I'm really not putting myself off to any specific kind of shows. I definitely know what a Nomad set's going to look like in an intimate setting, and I know what a Nomad set's going to look like in a more fun environment. And in saying that, like, I actually am already planning the launch party for it for next year, and it's going to be February 19th at the Cultural Center in Werribee.
Nice.
Because the West Side's the best side. The West Side's where I reside, and I'm planning to do it with a live band. Hopefully a vocal ensemble, a specific vocal ensemble, just putting that out there. And just make a production of it so that we can go through the whole album together and just take what you guys are getting on the 26th and make an experience of it.
That's exciting, man. I'm really keen for that.
There's obviously been a lot of work kind of going into, like, getting to the 26th. What are you kind of feeling you want to do on the 27th? The day after?
27th,
like, is it you just want to kind of just take a day and just kind of recenter?
Yeah, man.
Or are you just going to be booked out with, like, kind of phone interviews and kind of just the continuation of the process?
Well, I'd hoped for that. Like, I definitely had a rollout for this entire month that I wanted to do in anticipation for the album that didn't go to plan because of COVID. But on the 27th,
how are you feeling? What do you want to do? Is that a day where you just kind of think, I just need to just sit on the sofa for a day and eat junk food and do nothing?
No, I'm so nervous, man. I feel like I'm just gonna have to, like, I feel like what I want to do is definitely the least productive thing to do, which is, like, I just want to be at the beach or, like, be in a pool or something, like, no phone or anything.
I'm getting the vibe from you that it isn't going to be that anyway. It's going to be something really constructive. Really.
Yeah, man. Like, I definitely feel like I'm going to be glued to the Black Mirror all day, and like, we'll see what happens, man. But
I've heard of artists that when they put something out, they go the opposite way. They don't go anywhere near the internet. They don't go anywhere near reviews. They don't go anywhere near the phone.
Yeah,
and they're just like, it's out there now. It doesn't belong to me anymore. And
that sounds healthy.
Yeah,
that sounds like the best thing that I should probably do, but it never works. It never works out that way, man.
At least you know. At least you know.
No, fair enough.
Don't set yourself up for things you're going to fail with.
Yeah, man, 100%.
Now, actually, we've got a real special treat. I teased it before. I mentioned it before. Nomad has gracefully brought us a track from the album. He hasn't dropped it yet, so this is an exclusive to Music More and InnerFM. This song is called Round Here by 94. I'm sorry, Round Here, of course, by Nomad, featuring 94, and produced by Max Van Soest. And this is a real good track. We'll unpack it a bit afterwards. But you guys are in for a treat. So have a listen, and if you like it, let us know what you think. 0456 965 965. That's 0456 965 965. You're listening to Music and More with Noah and James on InnerFM.
We already been put the city on our back. Now it's time to put the city on the map.
I don't know what you were on to make that song, but that was that was hard, man. That was hard. Literally, as soon as that came on the headphones, I mean, you saw me. Yeah. You saw me. My neck almost snapped, man. That was fantastic. Fantastic.
That's dope.
If you guys want to hear that, you're gonna have to follow Nomad on everything and stay tuned. That track, along with the whole album, The Nomadic, is dropping on November the 26th. So please pre-save that now. All the links on your bio. Can you give your handles again?
Yep. Nomad_TMRC, basically everywhere. Facebook, nomad.tmrc.
Yep. You heard it there. You don't want to miss this album, and you don't want to be late, because you're going to be hearing it everywhere. It's going to be playing everywhere. We're opening up. The summer's going to be coming. So don't be the last one to hear it, especially when we fed it to you first. So please stay on it. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned. This is Music and More with James and Noah on 96.5 InnerFM.
Warmer weather.
That was Barefoot with Duan, a Melbourne producer, Young Shogun, and Kavinal. Those are all Melbourne artists. Really great song. We played Duan before. Duan was actually behind Takeoff. He was the producer behind Takeoff with Nomad, which we played earlier. And he's one of one of the top kind of producers along here. Although, I mean, I feel like every time I mention a Melbourne producer, I'm always saying they're one of the top. That's because Melbourne makes good stuff, you know? If you don't get it by this point, then I don't know what there is to get. Like everyone's fantastic. And every time you hear it, it's like, this is my new favorite. Now, the song we played earlier before this one was Round Here. That was an exclusive, not yet released track from Nomad's upcoming album. I just wanted you to talk us through a little bit about the process of that, because that was a banger, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah, Round Here is one that I'm very excited about, because obviously it's got that West Coast vibe to it. Who are like West Side, LA, California music definitely influenced me as well. And that's, of course, in large credit due to the producer, Max Van Soest, of course, who, when he sent me that beat, it was on straight away. I already know what I wanted to talk about, how I wanted to come in, and it's kind of a homage to, obviously, like Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, and all those iconic artists like Snoop Dogg and things like that. But for me, it was a lot more to do with like Nipsey Hussle. He's a massive independent artist, like inspiration for all of us indie artists.
Rest in peace, man.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
And I definitely wanted to tap into that that message. And you kind of hear me talk about it, like the industry a little bit, and just the whole being a man these days, and COVID as well. There's a lot that we get into. But those subtle references, even with the talk box too. 94 does his thing with that. And some of the melodies, I feel like if you didn't hear it before, you're gonna enjoy it when you hear the album. And there's some more talk box on the album too, which I feel like if you loved it on that one, you're gonna love it on the rest of the album. I'm very excited.
I love me some talk box. Let me just say, we are entering our last 10 minutes. If you've been listening, you've been enjoying, please don't go anywhere, because we do have Country Miles with Mick Peeling at 8 o'clock. So please don't go anywhere. He always never fails to play the best country music. Very good at what he does, and a skilled musician himself. So don't go anywhere once the show ends. Now, just for the last little bit, I wanted to talk a little bit about videos. Now, obviously, it's about to launch. I'm curious, when are we seeing visuals? What visuals do you have planned?
We have a lot of visuals planned. I'll put it that way. We kind of we had a rollout planned for next year. There's some delays on it. And that's pretty much all I got to say at this point. We've got plans. There's some delays due to COVID, but if you bear with us, there's going to be some pretty dope visuals for the whole album that I feel are really going to tie these stories together. And help unpack them a lot more. So
sick. And how are you planning to make those videos? Have you in terms of your past videos, have you always had someone to help you with them? Have you done them yourself? Who are you making them with them now?
I've always had someone to help me with them, and fortunately enough, there's a lot of really dope videographers in Melbourne.
Yeah.
So shout out to the videographer circle. But for this round, I've been a lot of my most recent visuals have been done under the umbrella of Shoot Cut Love, specifically Dietrich Hettig. And shout out to him real quick. And I feel like we've really tapped into a lot of really cool ideas, and when we get to execute them, I feel like they're going to be really culturally significant and just beautiful pieces of art in themselves.
Nice. I'm excited for that. And shout out to Dietrich. He's actually in the studio at the moment filming this interview. We won't put him on the mic because he requested not to. But
But he's got a beautiful voice. Like, don't worry about that. Very handsome dude.
Of course, nothing but talent and looks in this city. 100%. 100%. And I guess like as a final thing, I mean, what are you hoping to and feel free to kind of launch into whatever, but kind of how are you kind of hoping to impact the people who listen to this? And who are you hoping to reach particularly?
Oh man, like particularly, I definitely want to reach my Pacifica youth, and specifically, like, you know, just more people that are like me, whether that's like someone who's a plastic, someone who feels like they're on the outside looking in, someone who is a young father or maybe struggling to adapt to fatherhood, like at a reasonably young age. I definitely feel like I'm here for the outcasts, and this album is here for the outcasts, people with a chip on their shoulder. And I just want to make sure that whether it's one track or the whole album, that people leave here with something that maybe they didn't know about before, or maybe something that they've been trying to unpack themselves, and hopefully this helps them do it.
And I'm like I've been saying, I'm really excited for this. I think there's nothing I love more than, obviously I love turn up songs. Everybody loves turn up songs, but I think I just absolutely love substance. I think the more music released with substance, especially in a budding scene like Melbourne, I think the stronger we end up becoming. And I think, you know, I feel like your music is really in line with, I mean, even just Melbourne as a city, I feel like, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but it's the best city in Australia, but it's also like left out of the conversation a lot, I think, Australia-wise and worldwide as well, even though I think it's a world-class city. So I think for you to be dropping an album that's about, that kind of nomadic kind of outcast thing, I feel this city attracts a lot of nomads. I see myself as a bit of a nomad as well, so I really connect to that thing. I mean, I've lived around the world, and so I definitely feel that kind of disconnection from, you know, culture and stuff like that. So yeah, man, I think it's exactly what people need, especially coming out of lockdown as well. I think a lot of people are going to be finding themselves, and I think it sounds like it's really going to be a soundtrack for people to find themselves. So I'm really excited.
And I mean, at the heart of it as well, I personally just hope that, you know, people understand me a little bit better. Understand where I'm coming from when I'm making these songs and putting them out. And just you know, I've always had a thing about transparency and being authentic, and you know, I just hope that people still feel like I'm emulating that.
Yeah, and I'm sure they will, man. I think there's a real difference between with everyone kind of talking about, you know, the rise of good conversations, like, you know, mental health, etc., all this. Social media, like, there's a lot of kind of fake transparency as well, and I haven't seen that from you. You know, I've seen, you know, like uncomfortable transparency. It's like, actually, like, damn, like, I'm so glad that I'm not the only one going through that, you know. And yeah, I'm really so yeah, I think you definitely embody that. And did you have any last kind of thoughts at all, James?
No, not really. I mean, I echo again what Noah said. It's actually really refreshing from somebody that's kind of been in an industry where we kind of do deal with a lot of kind of big name kind of people. People that
and so young too. I mean, you're 24, right?
To be of your age, to have your talent, to have the skills, the eloquent way in which you can kind of just tell your story without having any shred of a kind of chip on your shoulders is actually not only really nice, it's just really refreshing.
Thank you for that,
and I actually think, you know, the music industry needs more people like that, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a vicious industry, and it is very hard to get by. But you know, niceness it's still a pathway, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah,
definitely. Well, you know, we've only got 5 minutes left. I want to go out on a Nomad track. So this next one I'm playing is called "Things I Love" by Nomad, featuring Dam Dib and J Dro. If you want to give us a little background about this before we go into it.
Yeah, cool. So me, Dan, and J Dro were pretty much all in the same spot at a Get Down event, and it just came out in conversation. Like, I feel like we all need to get a track together, and Dan started working on one, and he was like, "This is the one for us." Sent it out to me and J Dro. J Dro went over and recorded his. Sent it to me, and I was like, okay, I gotta finish this. And this is that track, and still really happy with how it came out. And shout out to Trey as well, who mixed and mastered the beat, and yeah, he's crazy. Yeah,
Trey stays busy, man. Yeah, well, this is "Things I Love" by Nomad, and thanks again for coming, bro. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Next up, we got "Country Miles" with Peeling, so don't go anywhere. But we're gonna end on a banger.
Let's go.